Okay. Yo, this is your boy, the Omega Katana here, and with my good old friend Makenshi Critques here. And today, it's going to be a good one because usually the original plan was I was supposed to do a reaction to state of play, but apparently I overslept because I was busy yesterday morning, so I fell asleep and crashed for like a couple hours. So, anyways, I'm just going to I have a lot of things to say about that. I watched some of the live stream and it was meh at best, but I got some words to say. Before we begin, let me just introduce my good old friend Makenshi Critques here. He's probably kind of busy right now, but
No. Sorry, so you wanted me to introduce? Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
yes.
this is Makenshi Critiques. Some of you guys might have seen me on Omega's podcast before. Um, and yeah, I just do anime live reactions. But right now, I've just been consumed by Elden Ring, so those are kind of on the dealer right now.
Yeah. Fell asleep during the state of play. I haven't fell asleep. I knew it was yesterday, but I was so tired that I actually missed it because I took a nap for like 2.5 hours. Matt, that's your question. That's the answer to your question.
You didn't
And
like the Gundam game,
the
the
Gundam game,
Gundam.
let me just say, I'm a huge fan of Gundam, but let me say this. It doesn't look right as a first-person shooter
Yeah, it
or
looks
an
like Destiny
Overwatch
or
clone.
something.
And more like
Yeah,
Overwatch.
yeah,
It makes me... I know there's a first-person Gundam game called Blue Destiny for the Dreamcast, but at least you're in a cockpit. Unlike what I'm seeing with the Gundam game here, I know they're going to attract the Western audience, but I'm good with Gundam versus Gundam. If you want any Gundam versus Gundam mayhem and whatnot.
yeah, yeah.
Yo,
Right.
the Moin dudes and the Omega dudes, how's it going?
You Ryan dudes, man. What up, man?
Yeah, what's good? Like basically, let me just want the that was a pretty short one, and the one thing that confused me, that the whole thing that bothered me was I kept my expectations low, and people have been suspecting Final Fantasy 16, the new Kingdom Hearts game, the a big hitter here or there, Resident Evil 9 made
Yeah,
that part up, but with
I
these,
think
okay,
it was long overdue, right? I think expectations were people. This time, people were right to have some expectations. Like we were expecting 16 footage. Like they promised us early in this year they're gonna do it, and it never came. So like I think it's because it's Sony in it. Like they had expectations, but
yeah,
even when the expectations were low, we kept it low. It still fell below expectation.
yep. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like basically, like you said, because basically you have we wanted to see Final Fantasy 16. Look at you mentioned this yesterday on my I did a comment on your stream or the
Yeah,
archive of it, and you said about Nintendo, amazing conference
yeah,
releasing ports of old games that people want to be remade, like Live a Live, Front Mission, and these
exactly.
all these various ports for the Switch and whatnot.
I
And
don't
you
even
wonder,
have a Switch, and I was excited for those Nintendo Directs. Like that's how good that showing was. Like it got me hyped about games, even if I don't have the hardware.
exactly, because I like Square Soft games, not Square Enix. Square Soft when they were good.
Yeah,
We got Live a Live. They're finally realizing it's not just Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and Dragon Quest. And speaking of the Enix side of things, I thought that Valkyrie, that I just call it the Valkyrie series,
Elysium, yeah, Valkyrie
Elysium,
Elysium.
is I thought of it as some near clone or new IP at first. And let me just tell you, the 3D designs are 3D designs look horrible. I know the 2D concepts look way better, but the 3D ain't doing it justice. Like it looks like a budget title.
Yeah, like a double A game. I know people want double A to come back, They want the Nears, the Valkyrie, these sorts of games to come back. But I think, like, if you're gonna bring something back like this, you can't just half-ass it. You can't just make another generic, homogenous, action slash game. Which it looks like Dragon Guard 3. Like that game. This game looks like Dragon Guard 3, except just a little bit better. You
Yeah.
expect more.
I agree. Like basically, I thought of it's a new IP at first, but they say like Valkyrie Profile. Like, dude, it doesn't look like Valkyrie Profile. I could just easily emulate Valkyrie Profile on my emulator, and I'll play that.
Yeah,
But apparently, those games are not turn-based at all. Don't know with the hack and slash, but please make it at least a bit, put more spice to it. Like, add more strategic elements to it. Like, have some spells, have
yeah,
some defense options, have like dodging, have like a second moment for the boss. But apparently, I
yeah.
just see like cool looking hack and slash moves like Diablo.
But see, here's the thing. Like, I know you say, like, you usually say that Western games are so bland and homogenous, right?
Yeah,
So they're so in a box, right? But
yeah,
I think this state of play was focused on squarely Japanese games, right? They were specifically for Japanese. They had like Giga, whatever that was called, the kaiju game, and all these games.
you're
You
breaking up.
seen,
Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt, but you're kind of breaking choppy.
yeah. Sorry, you can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, like that Giga kaiju game they showed, right.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it was a
looks generic.
Japanese focused state of play. Every game was squarely focused at the Japanese audience, right? But you saw that the entire showing in this state of play was homogenous. Japan is now moving towards what you hate about the West,
Yep.
having generic, homogenous looking games that all look the same, all look like Fortnite, Overwatch. Japan doing exactly the same. Reskinning Overwatch, reskinning Devil May Cry. Now we've got a Final Fantasy game which looks like Devil May Cry, or whatever it is, or Souls like this homogenous stuff. So it's starting to happen there, and it's all because of the money aspect of it. Like,
Yep. This is why I'm not that hyped with new games, apparently. And you brought up a good point. It's not just the anime waifu designs, which bother me with Japanese games, but now you brought up a good point with they're trying to copy the West, which is not a good idea.
yeah,
They're forgetting the gameplay. What makes it unique? What makes it engaging for players to play again or come back? You feel me?
yeah,
You can add more. You can add more to the statement here, but apparently that when when I play a game these days, I tend to even some games I enjoy, I tend to take a break, and that break becomes weeks and weeks and weeks until I pick it up again.
yeah,
It's like, for an example, I meant to say is that they're not that engaging. The story ain't that engaging. The gameplay is like press these combinations of buttons here, or smash the square or the X button, or the circle to dodge.
yeah,
And the JRPGs are basically like those teenage light novel bullcrap. Like look
yeah.
at
Light
the
novel
thing.
vision. Yeah,
Look, sorry to cut you up. Look at the visual. Look at not the visual novels. Damn. The games back in the day. Sorry being hipster. Like when you see the SNES or the PlayStation era or PS2, JRPGs tried to stand out from amongst the crowd, even amongst Enix and Square, and that's just them.
yeah.
Sorry
But
to cut you off. You
no, no.
can
Like,
talk.
here's the issue though, right?
Yeah,
It's true that they are trying to be more international. Like, they're trying to have international appeal, right?
yeah,
Trying to be more Western. But like, I was having this conversation with this DJN on Twitter just before we started, right?
yeah,
And he was talking about the Square Enix's Guardians of the Galaxy game, and I was telling him, look, Square Enix said that didn't sell. Like, it didn't meet their expectations for sales, right? So for them, technically, it flopped, right?
yeah,
They have a Western studio, right? Eidos Montreal and Crystal
yeah,
Dynamics, right? Deus Ex Mankind Divided flopped, which we haven't got sequel. Guardians of the Galaxy flopped. They had divisive reviews. The Tomb Raider studio is now like being outsourced to fucking Microsoft to do something because Square Enix doesn't want to pay for another game. by Crystal Dynamics, especially off the Avengers game, right? So
Yeah.
they are trying to do Western stuff, but it's not succeeding for them. So instead, they're they're basically having homogeneous, cell shaded, uh, retro looking games, but have none of the depth or the complexity or the systems that like Tactics has or Chrono Trigger has. So for every like they keep releasing Strangers in Paradise and fucking Project Triangle Strategy, but none of these games has come up to the the quality of their, like you say, the old Inex or the old Square stuff. So now they're just going for these cell shaded mobile gacha games,
Waifu bait.
service model games, waifu bait, fucking Genshin Impact looking fucking games, and trying to either copy Breath of the Wild and this, that, and the other. Japan has their own way of making homogenous, you know, bottom of the barrel crap as well, and that's the big problem. We call out the West because we live in the West. We see all
Yeah.
these Diablo-looking games, Diablo clones, and typical medieval fantasy done to death in every one of these games. But like, we gotta spotlight Japan and how fucking banal and mindless some of their games are as well.
Yeah, I'll take your Xenogears. Here's what Mad Matt said here. If you can read this if you want to, or yeah, I can just read this. So basically, what Mad Matt said, Mad Matt, the heavy metal mecha pilot, love the headbangers, that the id logo there. Anyways, if there's anything that annoys me about modern day gaming is that whenever I want to play a legit, honest to god JRPG, I get given another boring Devil May Cry clone masquerading as a JRPG, and
That's
I
true.
like Devil May
Everything's
Cry.
Devil May Cry. Yeah, everything is Devil May Cry now. FF is Devil May Cry. Everything's Devil May Cry now, man.
Yeah, I love Devil May Cry, but come on, with the enemies, at least chop some freaking limbs off or cause environmental damage. You know what I mean? You remember that game back in the day, that first-person shooter called Red Fraction, which is
Yeah,
sold as you can destroy environments and whatnot?
yeah, Red Faction. Yeah.
Yeah, but we need more of those. Like, and also with Titanfall 2, with the platforming and the brilliant gameplay design.
I mean,
You
yeah, that's true.
play Titanfall
Yeah,
2 because that campaign was amazing.
I mean, the Crackdown's something similar, destructible environments and jumping around and parkour and like fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a market for those kind of games. I think people just look down on games like that, which is why Titanfall also has been on a hiatus because I'm not sure they think it's going to be profitable. But like you say, it's the older stuff now is needed more than ever, with everything looking the same or everything moving towards either an open world action game, or just a dumbed down, like a no system carbon copy of something that you've seen before. More infection, yeah, Baker.
One faction. Yeah. That's a great game. You should play it. And also Gorilla too. And he's Mad Matt back with another question, with another statement saying, I am, however, looking forward to what From Software has got cooking for their hopefully upcoming Armored Core game, spiritual successor, and also hoping it's not Soulsy, if that makes any sense. Armored Core is not that Soulsy. It's a different type of gameplay. It mostly relies on quick pace button work and customization of your Armored Core mech. For those who don't play Armored Core.
Omega, do you think your attitude towards modern gaming is the way it is because they don't cater to the modern mecha fan nowadays?
No,
That there are
I
no
got I
good
got
mecha
Gundam
games.
versus Gundam. I got Titanfall 2. I got various mecha games on my Switch. I'm good, man.
But are they new games or are they retro games?
They're new games, they're ports, and they're indies. I'm good.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. Because you explained some of it. Because I'm an easy guy to actually please. But apparently, all these games are harmonic-ish to one
Huh,
another.
yeah.
And they're all the same thing again. The ugly Hollywood style or the waifu Genshin Impact and visual novel BS, which I'm getting sick of. I just
Would
want a game that actually if you want to be political or something, or make it like, don't sound like woke or anything like that. Make it like that tackles like not society issues. I don't know what to say right now, but
You want it to be stimulating. You don't want it to be just superficial identity politics, right? You don't want it to
yes,
just be, oh, they put a black character in, game over, that's it. You want the story to actually have some meaning and depth, and
yes,
like they think that it's such a big move to have a representation in there, and then when you try to delve beneath the surface of the story in the game, it's just another generic. It's like Forspoken. Forspoken's got the first female black person of color, and beyond that, it's just gonna be a generic isekai. I don't know how they could make
exactly,
this game deep. Like, you've put her in
exactly.
a world which has no racism. It has none of the stuff that she probably deals with. None of the political stuff she deals with. You just
Yeah,
shoved her in a fucking world with dragons and magic and fucking
Dragon Quest and whatnot.
succubus. Yeah, exactly. So like, how are you gonna do something compelling with her? She's just gonna be a sassy POW, anachronistic, commenting on the weird shit that's happening in this fantasy world. She comes from a world where TikTok exists and fucking YouTube and Twitter, so she's gonna be like constantly commenting and wisecracking about
Yeah,
fantasy tropes. It's just, it's not enough to just put this is Square, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Square just trying to pander to international audience. They think that's what we want. What we want is compelling
Telling
written
stories
characters.
like their fan base for you. Sorry about cutting you off, but I want to add to your statement here that I don't mind. I actually enjoy black or people of color characters, but make them engaging. Like make them share like not make it like pondering or preachy.
They're
Make it
caricatures. Yeah, they make them caricatures.
yeah,
Like
a
like they make them
more like what's that word called again? A token.
token. Yeah, not token. Yeah, you don't want them to be token. You want them to be written with their experiences in mind, or at least a fleshed out character. Like, so this chick in Forspoken, clearly one of these tomboyish
Yeah.
emo gamer chicks. Like, my cousin's like this. Like, why they created this character, and it's a specific type of character, right? But it's not enough, man. Like,
Nope. Nope. You know what I like? If I made a person of color character, I want to be unique as possible. Make them relate to everyone. For like for the POC, hate that term. Make it make it relatable to them. Like they have their troubles and experiences learn from the character, like from racism or when they actually grew up poor on the streets,
yeah,
or make them have that personality, help them survive in a fantasy world, and explain why they have why they're the way they are, why they're on edge, or other words, angry. They don't make enough of like juvenile delinquents or people who are in trouble or people from abused homes or in poverty. Now,
yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
want to make it like first world problems, but you know what I'm getting to? People in the
Yeah,
chat?
yeah, they're all chosen one characters, and it's
Yeah,
all about empowered fantasy, but they don't really have like fleshed, grounded characters, relatable characters. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, you don't have to like, I know it's hypocritical to say we want relatable characters and then complain that whenever someone's represented that it's a bad thing. We mean beyond the superficial, right? It's about class, it's about your background, your upbringing, like your character, right? You're writing that sci-fi story, right?
yes,
And you've given that character a sort of troubled relationship with their father, right?
yeah,
Something a bit more beyond just what their race is or what their
yeah,
issues are, right?
yeah,
Give them something that people can relate to, like I'll give you an example, right? Like, there's a visual novel I've been like watching along with one of my friends who's in the chat right now, right? It's
yeah,
called Higabana, right? It's a good VN. I'm not really a VN guy, but it's a good VN. It deals with bullying at school, all the different facets of bullying, subtle bullying, overt bullying, suicide, all this stuff.
yeah,
That shit is relatable because it covers such a broad spectrum of like bullying stuff, like real problems. It doesn't matter what race these characters are. You can all relate to this kind of insidious sort of bullying. So that's what you should do, not just a very superficial empowerment fantasy where you just
yeah,
shove a badass ass kicking chick in there and think, yeah, this is empowerment, man. This is relatable.
yeah.
Most women won't be able to relate to a badass chick who like a Mary Sue, who just can't get hurt. It's not vulnerable. It's completely stoic, like fucking Dirty Harry. Like, people don't
Fair.
want this, man. That's not relatable, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. We need people to actually not just actual gamers who write the stories, but also what you just said. You know those movies and TV shows you try to recommend me, which I'm starting to think about checking out now. We need more of those type of writing in our games. I
Yeah,
heard from the story. You heard the British actor Idris Elba, the British
Idris Elba.
actor,
Yeah, yeah.
and that one British show that he started out in.
Wire Luther. I think Luther and the
Luther,
Wire one.
yes.
Yeah,
Why we don't have any more stories of Luther?
yeah. See, Luther was great. Like
Yeah,
Luther was brilliant, but it's so few and far between shows like that to put a character like him in a genre like that and actually make it work. You know, they can
yeah,
make it work if they write for the character, but they don't do that anymore.
yeah.
It's all a virtue signaling and token gestures, like you
And
say.
also empowerment fantasy, which is like another thing I'm having a problem with now. Like seriously, there's plenty of potential to do amazing stories, especially with gamers these days want to escape and whatnot. I don't mind playing games to entertain yourself and escape, but people tend to use to. It's like running away from your problems,
Yeah,
and it's trying to cuddle you, saying, "Here's this farmland and which you're a super apartment god, basically. You got all these hot chicks coming after you due to your powers and whatnot. Instead of that, you're like in a foreign country with no technology, basically, or different type of cultural and religious background. You're probably yes, even though a law exists in that fantasy world too, but probably in a different name or something. But let me, yeah, you see, if you follow me here,
yeah. No, no, I understand. Yeah,
look, if people don't judge them by how they dress, how they talk, and how the language, also how to like learn magic spells, actually learn how to fight, get used to like the non patricized food, because it's basically fresh.
yeah.
You're you're basically running for miles or walking, so that person's basically going to lose some pounds if the person's a bit overweight,
Yeah.
dropping that blood pressure and whatnot.
The thing,
Look,
I think the thing is like archetypes.
yeah,
Like these archetypes are all created to cater to the demographic that they're aiming for. So shonen archetypes are always the same. Shoujo archetypes are pretty much always the same. You always got like some girl characters who's like slightly awkward and pining after the big chad in school. Like you see it often, like in shows like this. Like we get blamed for generic superhero MCU archetypes. You know, the Superman, Captain America figure, the darker Black Panther and Batman. We get blamed for archetypes. I we know that that's our bread and butter. We live that basically here. But you got these Japanese archetypes, which see we don't measure them. We're all about identity politics here. We're all about how aggressive we are and how we're always seeing white people and why don't we see more people of color and more experiences and more writing for women. But if you go across the other side of the pond in Japan, it's all that. It's all archetypes and caricatures. Race doesn't even play into it. Race, they don't even talk about race. They're like, no, no, no,
it's
no.
different issues, like different
Yeah,
type
like
of harmonic. I can't say the word right
yeah,
now.
homogeneity. Yeah, it's all the same, right?
Yeah,
So if we're talking about truly regressive, at least you can say we give a crap about representation. Like on top of wanting better written characters, better writing, we want that. We all want that. That's one thing people complain about. We need to write for black characters. We need to write for female characters. Nobody's saying that in Japan. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying we got to write for minorities in anime. We need to write black people better, not like dumb caricatures with broken Japanese audio dubbing. Like nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about writing female characters to be anything more than gossipy waifu bait, tsundere. Like nobody's talking about that. So we and because we care about Japanese games, we want Japanese games to be better. And that's why I criticize Japanese games so much, because like you say, me, you, we all used to play these old games, Japanese games that were great. you know,
Yeah.
proper fucking fantastic. But now with storytelling, it's it's just dumb characters. Tales games are exactly the same.
Ugh.
Every Tales character is like, you know, we're dealing with racism, subtle racism story here. But then your characters are generic,
White
you know,
anime
generic
character.
edgelord, anime
Look
character
at
like an edgelord.
yeah. Remember Tales of Fantasia? It looks
Tales of
generic,
Fantasia.
but I enjoyed it
Yeah,
because the villain basically is trying to save his home planet, his home world that's basically dying, and this dude, it's all just a misunderstanding from what his actions did to their world. He's just trying to save his world, and
yeah,
at the end of the day, he was just trying to defend himself.
yeah.
And
Tales does
people did,
do that misunderstood villains. It does. It has done really good misunderstood, like Duke in Vesperia or Kratos in, you know, like Tales
Kratos,
of Tales of Symphonia. Yeah,
Tales of the Abyss,
yeah,
Master
Tales of the Abyss.
Man.
But like you say, this shit was all in the past, man. Now
Yeah,
it's all regressed.
yeah,
Every character's got to be edge lord, belt buckles, and
yeah.
like you say, you know, you love versus 13, right? You remember the first
Yes,
time you saw versus and you impressed, right? And
yes.
how fucking amazing it was, and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing they've taken now from versus 13 is the aesthetic. The dress sense and the aesthetic, and none of the tone of what you fell in love with
The
versus 13.
tone, the violence. Look at the trailer again. It was
Yeah,
going to be a darker, serious story. Noctis is like basically a person who has tons of baggage on him. His father dying. 15 is like glossed over, but probably
yeah,
when his father died, it probably affected him way more. He I don't know what the story is, but I cannot wait to see what Nomura has in store for the future. Because if you see in Kingdom Hearts 3, he was probably he was probably upset when he got kicked off of the 15 project and seeing what 15 became.
yeah. My issue now is going to be they're not going to let him go like balls to the wall, like creative liberty on whatever story he wanted to do verse 13. Like it's going to be superficial. Like Yuzuru looks like Noctis, Riku looks like Noctis. It's like, why do they have the same fucking design? They all got the long shorts. You know, Nomura loves long shorts and belt
I
buckles.
love long
Yuz,
shorts too. Long shorts,
yeah,
jean shorts.
yeah, but like I say, they've only taken the aesthetic to invoke versus 13 fan like stands, right? We
Yeah,
don't know if we're gonna get something as like complex as what they were planning. There was a like Shakespearean aspect to it, right? The
yeah,
first time versus came, a quote from Shakespeare and all that. I'm not saying it was gonna be Shakespeare, but at least they were trying something new and bold and
yeah.
political and intrigue and all that
It's
shit.
tactics.
Then we got like a safari park with a boy band,
Boy
15
band.
turned into, yeah, boy band on safari traveling to their wedding and shit. Like,
Boy band safari.
it's true though, man. They were in a safari park before they went to fucking,
An empty world, by the way. The world was empty too.
yeah, exactly. Not
Barren.
even populated by people, man.
Yeah. Only one or two villages, and that's it. Press X to win.
And one fucking city, you were there for like 10 minutes and it got destroyed. Altisha, right?
Yeah. What a waste.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a waste. I want to just forget about 15. Boy band safari. Like,
Like, man, that
seriously.
was not FF, man.
That's not exactly. I was like so disappointed that I was actually upset. Like, just almost depressed. Started to be like a fanboy. It's like the only corporate product that I'm deeply into.
Yeah.
Unhealthily, but I basically grew up with it since high school. The original concept, like you said, like this
Yeah.
bold story. It even affected my creativity, if you feel me there.
Yeah, no, I understand. Honestly, man, we lived it for 7 to 10 years. Those of us who, 2006 or something, when they first showed the trailer,
Yeah,
like, not 2000, yeah, maybe 2006 or seven,
yeah,
but we were there for like 7 to 10 years waiting for this game. PS3, oh, skipped a
PS4,
generation.
yeah.
PS4, then it changed to 15. We were hoping, man, and then it came
And
out. And
then it
like,
came out, and then it's a mess.
yeah,
Yeah, hope Nomura can keep like basically an oath to return. Let's just say that.
Yeah, let's
And
hope so, man.
oath to the he needs to fulfill that oath. You
Yeah, I
know
mean
that
they
little
keep
quote there, oath to return. He needs to
yeah
fulfill the oath.
yeah they keep putting him on so many different projects. It's like they almost don't want him to make his
His
dream
own
game.
dream
Yeah,
game. I like
fucking Square
Nomura
Enix, man.
as an artist and a director, to be honest, but they made him work so much on these projects that he doesn't probably want to do. So he's basically going through the motions till he gets his chance again to go back to his dream project.
Yeah, he's the only one of the only big guys left in Square now. I'm shocked he hasn't walked away like everyone else in Square. Like
Yeah,
Sakaguchi walked away when they all become producers, right?
yeah,
Here's the thing: Sakaguchi getting fired, or whatever it was
yeah,
like a alarm bell to all the producers. They don't want
yeah,
to take risks anymore.
yeah.
Toriyama
Sakaguchi.
doesn't want to take risks no more. They put their names to some garbage or spin-off titles, mobile phone, FF7 remake games, and
Yeah,
compilation games. It's like all the safe bets they want to do. They don't want to do what Sakaguchi did. At least took a risk. At least Spirits Within was a risk. You know, the
yeah,
creatives take risks. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, like
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Feel you, man. Like SquareSoft was an amazing company because they cared not just for Japanese audiences that focus on Japan because it's less globalized, but let's just say they enjoy creating games for their fans,
I actually
not for
want to.
the.
Sorry,
You can
sorry, sorry to cut you off. Yeah, the Bleeding Shadow said unpopular opinion: Capcom vs SNK 2. So I don't think so. I think Capcom vs SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium, is like one of my favorite games of all time.
same here, dude. That's my favorite fight crossover games next to like Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yeah,
Yes, I said yeah. I like Brawl.
I like it because Capcom vs SNK 2 is actually a lot more responsive than in terms of like the speed of the combat and the systems. I feel like it's a lot tighter, more responsive than Marvel vs Capcom or Street Fighter Third Strike or Alpha. Those games date really badly because they feel sluggish. But Capcom vs to Mark of the Millennium was like tight, really fast, really responsive. You had
Yeah.
Xism, Vism. You could customize
Dude,
your
you're
character.
breaking up. You're breaking up. Sorry about cutting off,
Sorry,
but you're kind of
sorry.
breaking
Yeah,
up.
you could
You can.
customize your customize your characters in Capcom vs SK2. It's dope.
Yeah, I enjoy that game. Still one of my favorite fighting games of all time. That SNK 1 and 2 introduced me to SNK games.
Yeah,
Plus with plus with King of Fighters series, and then I got into King of Fighters 2003, and then it went from there.
yeah. Oh, the roster, you know, for the second game, Bleeding, the roster is amazing. You can get Shin Goku, you can get a freaking Dark Ryu, Shin Rugal, you can get like a Shin version of Rugal,
Omega
a
Rugal.
Mega Rugal, yeah, like, and it's got like alternate endings depending on like what you do. It's the roster's amazing in Capcom SNK 2. Easily my favorite beat 'em up of all time, man.
A fighting game. I didn't know you like 2D fighting games.
No, I
Because
used to be big into 2D fighting games. It's just I'm old now, man. I'm like 36, and
I'm about to be
these
30.
young people are too good at beat 'em ups now. Tekken,
Yeah,
I used to play Tekken, Darkstalkers. I used to play, uh, you know,
Guilty Gear,
Altered Beast.
Altered Beast.
Yeah, like loads of beat 'em ups. I love Street Fighter. Street Fighter was and Tekken was my jam. Now I feel like I'm old and I can't keep up with all the people playing beat 'em ups now, man. Like,
It depends on practice, my friend, but I understand what you're getting to. I love the 2D Japanese fighting games like Guilty Gear, Base Blue, Cap SNK, Cap 2D Capcom fighting games like Darkstalkers and whatnot. But
yeah,
but basically, we're boomers at the end of the day, and internet terms because I'm about to be 30, you're 36. But I still love video games, but I prefer the classics. One of them's probably I'm getting kind of old because I'm knowing a lot, looking past the tropes and the cliches, and my expectations are being higher and higher and whatnot.
yeah,
And Nick, this is live, not pre-recorded.
yeah. No, this is live, Nick. Yeah, this is live, Nick. I see your messages.
But basically, just say that. Let me answer a part of it, but basically that how to put this in it, like going like saying too much uhs and ums, but here it goes. Like not just that I'm time to be old, but I'm also like being more disappointed because we're past the graphic ceiling already. To the point you can see like it's just let me show my face here. Show my camera here. Look at this. Pretend this is photorealism here.
Yeah,
So about the dark room here. So this we passed this part with photorealism.
yeah.
Instead, make spice it up more. Like basically,
This is the
like
problem. Yeah, this is sorry. Sorry. I don't want to cut you off. This is the problem. I agree with you. Fucking, I hate this move towards photorealism. But often these photorealism games are actually pretty fun for AAA games. They're not like the most deep thing, right? But they're fun. But the thing is, with all these fucking new consoles, which are like trying to compete with high-end PCs, people have expectations of 120 FPS, 4K resolution. We need to justify buying this console. We need our games to look amazing. You have to balance that with having a game with deep systems. And usually nowadays what happens is you have indie games which look like garbage, or double A games with deep systems like 13 Sentinels, or deep stories, nice deep combat, and then you got triple A games which are like common denominator games where everyone can play, everyone can finish these games. The Tsushimas, the God of Wars, the Horizons. You know what I mean? Like you have to
yeah,
balance that. Don't you think that if you bought a super powerful PS5 that you'd want the games to look the part, right?
yeah,
Like I don't necessarily agree. That's why Forspoken I fucking hate. It's all flash. It's all substance and flash and particle effects, and probably going to be ray traced and all that crap. And the depth is going to suffer, like, as a
yeah.
result.
You brought got a good point, but can I say something here? You know when enemies get hit, they tend to like stagger here and there, especially when you're hitting them with a sword. They don't see any body parts flying. I know like ESP whatever the rating system will have a fit, but who cares? It's a rated M game.
Yeah, not
But
like
why enemies can,
Ninja Gaiden 2, which
like
had like
basically
limb
like
dismemberment.
chop off limbs and heads or bodies burn and have enemies react, not just the environment too?
Yeah, it's Sony that since it started doing that. You know how everyone bigs up Sony. Sony a bit. People say that Sony's starting to censor stuff now. I don't believe in like there's a conspiracy to censor, but Sony have always censored. When Ninja Gaiden 2, when Sigma got re-released, like ported to
PlayStation.
PlayStation, they cut out dismemberment and blood effects. You remember the 360 version of Ninja
Yeah,
Gaiden 2?
that's the best
Limbs
version.
Yeah, limbs were fucking flying off, legs were coming off, heads were fucking flying off, and blood. And then when Sigma came, and I was like, where the fuck is all the dismemberment and shit?
And the blood, dude. Where's what? And yet people let Mortal Kombat slide with the head crushing and the impalement and the head chopping. But with Ninja Gaiden 2, we can't have dismemberment anymore.
Yeah, I don't know where it is, man. People think it's Chinese money, man. Sony taking Chinese money, so they gotta make sure their games uh, release everywhere. Like
Yeah, especially with
in a
China.
way,
You brought a good point before your mic was being fuzzy again, but seriously, yeah, like basically you have to be appropriate for China. Because that Ninja Gaiden 2 was one of my favorites for the 360 of all time, still is.
yeah,
That's why I need a 360 emulator so I can play that game again. And here's
yeah.
what
I
the
have it
thing,
on backwards compatibility. Yeah,
yeah,
it's still amazing. It's tough.
yeah,
It's amazing.
and also it's very difficult too. It's like Dark Souls hard, but it's more faster pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You
Bleeding
got to keep
Shadows,
moving. You can't stay still in that game.
yeah, gotta keep moving. That's why I love it. Like basically, like in actual combat in real life, I heard it's like very chaotic. You can die in basically one hit or two if you're lucky. But
Yeah.
here's what Bleeding Shadow says. Also, I've always loved the '90s Capcom games like Street Fighter, Alpha, Darkstalkers, and '90s Marvel games. Those to me are the big three fighting games.
Yeah, though they are, man. They are.
Yes,
Tekken was big as well.
and now that you
Tekken
mention
3
it,
was huge.
Ryu Hayabusa would have been a also Mortal Kombat guest star. Agreed.
He should have been in Soul Calibur, like Link and Spawn were.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Spawn and Link were in
Yes,
GameCube in the
exactly.
Xbox version of?
Yeah. I still love Soul Calibur, but Soul Calibur 1 and 2 were the best though. That's just me.
Yeah, I didn't find the
And
combat that amazing. The
yeah,
vertical, the horizontal strike system, I didn't like that much.
yeah. I'm happy that games are becoming big, but basically what we're saying is that people are getting hyped for mediocre trash.
They are, yeah.
They're like they don't know what a good story is. You imagine if you're hyped for the latest Harry Potter book. Yes, Harry Potter's been out already, so pretend Harry Potter's making a new book. And you've been people are suspecting the best book, the best spiritual successor, the best this and that, and yet people are when they pick up the book, it's just your generic reboot,
Yeah. It's all
trying to
hype and
capture
flash.
trying to capture all the magic. Besides, look at Cobra Kai. It is not your ordinary reboot. It's basically a continuation of the series, which
Exactly.
does a good job with introducing new people and reintroducing them to the fans of old. And their kids have problems. They have problems. Different
Yeah,
characters. You saw
it
Cobra
didn't.
Kai?
Yeah, I love Cobra Kai. It didn't try to reinvent the wheel. It tried to do something different and organic, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So like, I like that, and obviously it does a subvert thing, right? You see it from Cobra Kai perspective. The
Yeah.
bad guys, you see it from their perspective. There's rarely do you see that happen. I know they do it like whimsical sort of way, but to literally just shift to a bunch of scumbags and try to humanize them and develop them, I thought it was really good, Cobra Kai,
Same.
what it was doing.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Why we don't have that in video games? Like, play it in like the bad guys' point of view. Make
They
him
don't
like
want to
three
take risks,
dimensional.
man. Gaming, see, Hollywood gets so much shit, but there's always something for everyone. There's something for you. There's something for me, for Nick, for Ryan, for Bleeding Shadow. There's something for everyone on TV or film. But in the gaming world, they don't want to take risks. They
Yeah.
want to cash in. Like they see one company cash in on Fortnite or Overwatch,
Or Elden
or
Ring.
Elden Ring. Well, everyone's trying to be Elden Ring for ages, but no one's come close, right? But yeah, they try to cash in and they fail, man. They fuck everything, like you say, like I say, homogenous now with none of the depth. They have all the looks, but none of the depth of these games. It's like Project Triangle Strategy came out. When people saw that, Square Enix want you to think that's a Tactics spiritual successor. They want you to think this is a Final Fantasy Tactics Tactic Ogre spiritual successor. The game ain't that. I seen the reviews. The game is not Tactics. It probably doesn't even have the depth of Tactics, but they want everyone to think it's that, or they want it to. They want people to think that this remaster, or this reboot is that, like Contra. Yeah, they released Contra. Yeah, everyone's gonna buy it because it's fucking Contra and Konami. Rogue's Core, whatever it's fucking called. It was shit.
Garbage.
Garbage, yeah.
Castlevania. Like basically, it's an adaptation. But why it's like because they did their own spin on it. Yes, it's over the top gore and blood and whatnot, but I liked it because it had charm. Except season 3, by the way.
Yeah.
It had charm. It had depth. It had yes, it has blood and gore and action too, but
Yeah, as
it tried
yeah,
to like
Castlevania, amazing series.
they tried to like made its own take on the myth on the famous series
Yeah,
instead of trying to be like a clone.
exactly.
Yeah,
Japan,
and
man.
yeah, you can't beat the Japan. Don't want to be the Omega weeb here, but
I want to ask you something though.
yeah,
What is it like? I know you're huge into mecha, and like Japan gave you mecha, which is obviously gonna soft spot, right? You have a soft spot for mecha and all the old
yeah.
anime and stuff. But what is it inherently about Japan that you love so much? Like, what is it that they gave you that's so sacred and so, you know?
Let me bring that up here. When I was a little kid, I watched I was immense by Japanese cartoons like anime like Pokemon, Card Captors, Toonami. When I first saw Gundam Wing, the shooting star she saw episode 1, where the main mech, aka the Wing Gundam, transformed, and I was like, when I was like 7 or 8. And I was like, holy crap, like this is so bad. This is awesome. Like basically you're seeing like a transformable mecha blasting two mechs into dust, metallic dust.
Yeah,
This is like I didn't know about the censorship on TV then, but that was amazing. Seeing
Yeah,
cool looking robot transform
yeah.
and seeing all those robots like destroying, punching one another, using beam sabers, rifles,
But like, what I want
transforming.
to, yeah, what I'm trying to understand is, I'm the same. I'm with you. I used to watch some animes and I was blown away by them, and I still have nostalgia for them. But I want to understand the mindset where people die on this hill like 20 years later, like they will defend to the death weebdom, right? Anime stuff. Like,
We them.
what is like? I don't die on this hill. I like everything. I like animes. I like some games where I have visual novel elements. I like Western stuff, TV, anything. I dabble, right? But what is it about Japan that even 15, 20 years later, like a mega that you just
The
people would have
Jack.
like
Let me tell you
the
that.
Tonys and the megas want to defend like Japan.
The Tony's Megas. So let me answer you this. Because basically, over time, I began to do research on Japanese culture, which I find interesting. And also with the whole Tokyo lights and whatnot. But the reason why I brought that up because basically I actually love Japanese culture as a whole. How they act, how business works, how they tend to like save face in public and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm being weep here, but also I like how they do things and how they see life.
But don't you think that they're inherently conservative and xenophobic culture? Like,
Yep.
what about the other side of things where if you went to Japan, right, you love the Japanese, but do you think you'd be loved as much as you love the Japanese if you went over there? Like, there's that guy, what's his name, Akasan, right? The big YouTuber. He's a
Yeah.
black guy who lives in Japan, right?
Yeah.
And he's brought up many times how not all, but a lot of the Japanese public look at him like he's some sort of alien, like that just landed on Earth in a UFO, like
Giving him
this
stares like a zoo
stare.
animal.
Yeah, they're like
To like
a zoo
any
animal.
other foreigner too. Not just the blacks, but also whites and their fellow Asian neighbors. If you
Yeah.
land there, they
Plus, when Edward Snowden exposed America's spying on people, right?
yeah.
Exposed Japan's spying on people at the same time. It was, I think it was Italy, Japan, and America that those three countries got exposed. I think for spying on their publics, uh, surveilling their publics, all this stuff. So there's a lot about Japan that people like to gloss over. You know, I hate UK. I hate the fucking Tory government. I know you complain, right? That I don't complain about the UK. Believe me when I say I fucking hate the Tory government. I hate the establishment. I complain about the US, but I feel like people just gloss over. People have this romantic view of Japan, samurai, honor culture, anime, man. I love their entertainment, but
But
they
not
don't
the
look
dark
beyond,
stuff.
not the dark stuff, like you say, the cost of living there, the
It's
suicide rates, the
expensive, the suicide rates, the
bullying, conservative, like
conformity.
exactly conformity, surveillance, all that shit. Like,
Yeah.
what made you ignore all that when it came to Japan? Because
Research.
yeah, but
Because unlike okay, I'll stop for that. You're about to say something? Because I'm
no, I
about
mean,
to say something.
because I feels like see, there's another guy in that Tesh group, that Twitter group we're in called Troy, right? Tony. He
Yeah.
seems like a level-headed dude, right? Very
Yeah.
politically conscious, very politically aware.
Yeah.
But you never see criticism of Japan. It's like just automatic defense of like this romantic idea of Japan, this far off exotic place. It's like the film critics back in the
Yeah.
day, in the 90s and the 2000s. Film critics would dick ride Korean and Japanese films like no matter what, without any criticism, because they were exotic and foreign,
Yeah.
and these snobs had these pretentious snobby critics. It was cool to pay shit on like UK films and American films, and it was popular to like big up these foreign films because you can plead
France,
ignorance. Yeah,
Japan, China.
exactly. Yeah, you can plead ignorance. You can say, "Oh man, you don't know Japanese culture, so you won't understand this film." These critics never understood Japanese culture, and they used to give 10 out of 10s to all these foreign films, right? That same mentality has been bought. The snobbery, you know, the elitism and snobbery of the West has now come over to the weebs, right?
Yep.
Who have this elitist, snobbish mentality about this foreign, exotic culture, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, basically what you see, you brought a point before that they don't tend to discover other cultures' entertainment, like South Korean, French, UK, various American stuff, like the American classics from like the 2000s, bringing that up, or other type of
Yeah,
mediums. They're not exposed to. They tend to like I was that for a long time and thought like comics were lame. I thought most American movies were lame till I opened my mind and said, "Holy crap, this is freaking awesome!" One of my favorite movies of all time isn't Japanese or an American. It's a South Korean film called Man from Nowhere.
yeah, that's a great
Not
film.
not because it's like over top gore, but also it's a dark film that had a father like figure trying to save what he tried to cling on to. What I'm trying to bring here again, trying
Yeah,
not sound, prevent to sound creepy and whatnot, but he was like a daughter figure to him because his
yeah.
family died. Spoiler alert. But seriously, what's what South Korean films tend to like put risk in their movies more than so Japanese entertainment these days?
Yeah, I don't know what it's. Korean movies are like some of the best. Like some of the best Asian films I've seen are Korean.
Yeah,
Like, but even Man from Nowhere took a lot from like Unforgiven, like the Western archetype.
yeah,
Even the name Man from Nowhere is like a play on, um, like a Western, the old Western Clint Eastwood films, and
yeah,
Unforgiven, and the stoic guy who's trying to redeem himself, and so it took a lot from that, but it had the Korean flavor, and it had all that, visuals, imagery, dialogue. It was great, man.
yeah. Dialogue, the great man. People need to tend to like explore other things besides like seeing the worst of the West. Like see like when they were great. And speaking of which, I just discovered if you pay attention to like older anime, they tend to influence American culture a lot.
Yeah, like Ghost in the Shell particularly, and
Ghost in the Shell, Star Wars, for examples. Yeah, the Base Blue series. Let me tell you that thanks to that game, I got Continuum Shift. I started to get back into fighting games as a whole again. Thanks to that game.
I admire Blue from a distance. That studio, I think does some of the best cell shaded artwork that I've ever seen. But I don't play those games. But I admire that studio and what they're doing from a distance.
Yeah, because with the fighting games, they tend to like revolutionize with graphics and style, which they're known for, and keeping them stuff for like for like newcomers to the fighting game genre, which itself is a niche genre, which is not for everyone. Especially with the older libraries like Guild Gear Double X, one of my favorite fighting game series entries. But switching gears to like American cartoons, I haven't been interested to like invested in American cartoons since Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you heard about that, which I loved to death, because basically it was like a Nicktoon that actually respected its audience and gave a good story out. Uh, oh,
Yeah, beat 'em ups like Injustice. I've heard has a great story, but stories in beat 'em ups, I missed that. I honestly
yeah,
fucking missed that. Seems only that studio, the Mortal Kombat
Arc System,
studio,
yeah, Mortal
is
Kombat
doing
Studio, Arc System, and NetherRealm were like
NetherRealm. That's
only
it. Yeah,
focusing on story in their games.
yeah.
You call them beat 'em ups, but they're actually called fighting games.
Fighting games. We in the UK we call them beat 'em
Beat 'em
ups.
ups.
That was
Yeah,
just a
beat 'em ups.
yeah,
Yeah, like that term, beat 'em ups.
yeah. It's like hack and slash beat 'em ups.
Yeah, yeah. Anything I could point out here? Because we can let's go on like another subject or two.
Yeah, yeah. You can move to the next subject.
Because basically, you got a good point here. Why I respect the Japanese so much? Because I always think I start by being weep here again. It's like exotic and foreign, and I'm into that. Like seeing
But the thing
how
is,
they
I don't
take.
think my general view is they're no more remarkable than anywhere else, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We love what we love.
Hmm.
We've got 4 or 5 franchises that Japan maybe gave us that we fucking love,
Yeah.
but that in sheer number, it's no more remarkable than the number of stuff I like.
Yeah.
in the Western comics or Western cartoons, and like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I grew up on Johnny Quest, for
Johnny
example.
Quest, that's amazing artwork, man.
Yeah,
Speaking of, have you heard of French comics like Tintin or Lucky Luke or Eldrick?
I've heard of Elric or Melniboné, and Snowpiercer is a French comic as well, but I'm
Yeah.
not too familiar.
I always want to get into those French comics like Mobius and whatnot because they have some pretty good artwork.
They adapt a lot of French comics.
Yeah.
There's a French comic called not Tower of God, Snow, like about a guy who climbs a snowy mountain. I forgot what the name of the adaptation is called, but that's being adapted apparently. That was a French comic or something.
Yeah.
Exotic as in foreign. Anything that's foreign, Nick.
Exotic
It's
like
like
the
this, like I say,
mimicry.
the film critics of British film critics in the 2000s. Anything foreign came out, they would give it like an essay, a pretentious essay about how amazing it is. It's like Parasite, that Korean film Parasite that won the
Yeah.
Oscar, right?
Yeah.
It pissed me off because that director's made at least three or four better films in the past, never got recognized because Hollywood was virtue signaling and was basically awarding films for having class warfare or racism stories.
Yeah.
So like horror's notoriously been looked down on in Hollywood. Last thing that won an Oscar was The Exorcist, and then Get Out only won because it was about racism. That film
Yeah.
would never won if it wasn't about racism. So it's just like
Exactly.
Parasite. Parasite was all about the class warfare. The class warfare. I'm like, dude, this guy's done. He
Better
did
stuff.
Snowpiercer. Yeah, Snowpiercer, and Snowpiercer is a way more overt and better class warfare story than Parasite. Parasite's amazing, but like I say, Hollywood virtue signaling, they'll award anything that fits the narrative or make them look good, and
Yup. That's why I don't like the Oscars anymore because they like that pretentious stuff.
exactly.
Like basically, their taste is way different than my taste. My taste, to be honest, let me tell you right now, it answers your question completely because it looks over. I like over the top, cool stuff.
Stylized. You like stylized, right? That's
Yes.
why you like Japanese stuff. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I like stylized aesthetics. I think Japan does stylized best. Like
Yeah.
American comics don't. They do have distinct art styles because you have different artists taking on the work, but they're not like stylized. Every now and again, you get a random mini series, right?
Yeah.
uh, that has a really distinct weird art style. But yeah, like you say, they do distinct kind of left field sort of twists and turns.
Yeah. But what they need to do to impress me, like put the stylized stuff and put in more like the more realistic spin on it, like good storytelling, characters, and whatnot. And no, we're not talking about Michael Bay explosions here, because some of his movies kind of suck. I'm talking about 90s Capcom, or mid 2000s Capcom. Hideki comment. What's his name again? Hideki, kind of. The guy who directed Resident Evil 2 created Ufo Joe.
Oh,
Okay.
Hideaki, so not Hideki Kamiya.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like his style.
Yeah, I like Hideki. Like Bayonetta, I fucking love Bayonetta, Devil May Cry,
Bayonetta.
Resident
Yeah,
Evil
I love
2,
the Bayonetta. Yeah, Bayonetta. Love that
Beautiful
style.
Joe.
Beautiful Joe, still my favorites. With the whole stylized stuff, people are still into like, sorry going over the place, but people are into like deconstructions, breaking and subverting expectations, but they come out as pretentious and boring
Yeah.
and ugly.
My take is that Japan is a great ideas, bad execution, and the
Yeah,
West is bad ideas, good execution. They will
yeah,
execute a bad idea. They will
yeah.
spend $500 million on a bad script, um, but their ideas are still bad. But Japan has good ideas but terrible execution.
Execution.
CG and anime, either
Ugh.
not adapting their best works, or CG and anime, or low budget, terrible, cut down adaptations.
Yeah,
But I think that's the biggest problem between the West and the East.
yeah. But
They have
one
good
day,
ideas.
one day, somebody will probably think about maybe I should put down the best of Japan and the best of the West and put them into a blender. Maybe I'll be
Elden
doing
Ring,
that
man.
one day. Elden
That's
Ring,
Elden.
yes.
How
Yeah.
far are you in Elden Ring now?
Elden Ring, I was playing with a friend. I'm at level 15. Yeah, still at the beginning. Long way to go.
Yeah.
Still getting used to that soul-based combat. Love playing multiplayer with it. And let me tell you in the chat that I met when I was playing with a friend of mine. I was riding on my horse and I seen a bunch of dead guys, like lost ones I call them, like basically gathering around a bonfire. And suddenly a dragon swooped by and killed them instantly. I was like, I'm out of here. Like basically that surprised me. And Nick, yes, I need the experience because I'm pretty bad at Souls games.
Yeah, this is first Souls game, Nick, and it's an open world game, so I don't blame people for taking advantage of the co-op. I think it's enticing to know that you can actually explore with a friend in co-op in an open world, like especially for a Souls game. I
Yeah,
don't have PSN Plus, so I don't have no summon signs. I've got no messages, nothing. It's just been solo, so
yeah. But at least Elden Ring respects the player. And I want to bring out a good point. What's your take on how certain people on Twitter, whining and complaining about Elden Ring's success?
I think those people they haven't followed fucking the last 10 years of FromSoft, or even like I know Armored Core is a thing, but I'm talking strictly about Miyazaki's games. We
Yeah,
had
Dark
Demon
Souls
Souls,
1,
three Dark Souls games, Bloodborne and
Bloodborne.
Sekiro, and people there are people who actually hate Elden Ring's success. They don't understand it, and you're like, oh, why are you giving him 10 out of 10, dude? Have you not followed Miyazaki's games for the last fucking 10 years? Like, that's the issue. Like they didn't always get these kind of scores. Like they got awards and this, that, and the other, but Dark Souls 2 never got applauded as much as games did.
3, or
The
Bloodborne.
three, yeah, three Bloodborne got praised a lot, but it wasn't like 10 out of 10s and anything. But this got praised because it genuinely is a game changer. People
Hmm.
just won't get it if they've not followed it. I know it can be difficult because this is your first like Elden Ring game, but you can see the evolution, and you'll realize like what a big jump it is from Sekiro, going from Sekiro to this game.
Yeah.
Like it's just insane how much progress they made in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Especially with the whole thing, especially if the industry professionals in the West are complaining and they don't get it because they failed their audience because why they stick into like saying admitting that we should like do better and try to like understand why this is successful and not take the L, learn from it. But yet they're like in a high school cafeteria. I don't know what they call them in the UK, but they whine and complain, telling the whole world that it ain't no fair that this Japanese game stealing all the cred.
Yeah.
Because basically, Soul Miyazaki era, Soulborn from Software era, took like basically 11 years from
Yeah.
like Demon Souls to Elden Ring.
The thing with Miyazaki is he understands Western fantasy, old Western fantasy, and he understands tight, responsive Japanese gameplay. Like the meshing of those, he understands that, and he's understood that for a while. He's not just stuck to one genre. He's done fucking Bloodborne. He's done freaking Sekiro, which is a straight up action game, and he understands the strengths of both places. That's why he gets fucking 10 out of 10s.
Yeah.
And people don't seem to understand that, man. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't understand. While these same guys are basically like doing these cookie cutter open world games or your first person shooters, tend to hold the person's hand to like the whole trip, barely like giving you the chance to properly invest in the character, invest in the game, have low replay value despite being open world. You feel me there?
Yeah, now it's actually crazy how much control they take away from you. Modern Western games take control away from you, like a cutscene every fucking 2 minutes. You're
Yeah.
walking down a linear like that's one thing I hate about freaking Last of Us, particularly. Like there
Yeah.
were times where it would just cut into a cutscene and just you're basically walking at a crawl. Final Fantasy did this a lot as well. I'm not gonna lie. FF7
Yeah.
remake had Cloud walking slowly for like 2 minutes, and you're like, dude, just give me control back, fam. Like
Yeah.
what's yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but yeah, next time copy Elden Ring. So, anyways, so I'm just saying here, yeah, basically, like they give you like a cutscene here or there, a fetch quest to pad the time. Look at games like Chrono Trigger for RPGs.
Yeah.
It has the right amount of side quests that rewards the player. It gives the characters motivation and understands some more plus goodies.
Yeah.
It's all perfect for 20 hours of gameplay. And it's from 1995 or 4, I believe
Yeah.
so. And wonder why that game still get praised that day, because it respects the gamer, and it's the one thing I like how the Japanese are at times when they do it right is that their craft is like better than America. Not don't know about Britain, but America we have tend to have terrible work ethic.
Yeah, you got developers complaining more than actually putting the work in. Like, I know there's probably crunch in Japan. They
Yeah,
probably
there does be
overwork.
crunch, dude. There's crunch.
Yeah, and the anime. Obviously, Japanese animators are fucking overworked and underpaid, right?
Yeah,
Like living at work and all that. So obviously there's crunch there, but they have this their honor mentality
yeah,
means that they will put themselves through that for to make something good, right?
yeah.
And then the West, we're too busy about, oh, we need to unionize, and they complain too much. And then most of the games they put out, to your credit, I would say they half finished games that aren't complete and need patching like 3 or 4 times before they're fixed. Can't remember the last game in memory that didn't need a fucking patch, at least 2 patches before it fucking was working like properly. And
Yeah. You get me. You're starting to get me now.
yeah, I mean, I get you on some things, but I just don't understand. Like, here's I'm gonna ask you one thing though. You're a nostalgic person, right? You have a
Yes.
lot of nostalgia for stuff, right?
Yeah.
Why you say that there were some great things back in the day? I would argue that we're spoilt for choice today. We have games like Hades, Return. I think we've got plenty of good games nowadays. It's just some
Katana
people
Zero.
are stuck in their little their comfort zone of gaming, the particular genres, the beat 'em ups
Yeah.
or I don't know, Mecha for example, whatever it is. Why do you think you're so nostalgic? Like it's even like 15, 20
The,
years later,
for
because
the art.
we have
Okay.
another friend. He called Giovanni, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't want to make this link because and it's controversial for me to say this,
Yeah.
but he processes things differently. He also has like autism or Asperger's, right? And
Yeah.
people tend. I've noticed that people like this tend to be more nostalgic. They process more from the last 15 years ago. They have vivid, deep details about stuff that happened 15 years ago, but they're totally put off by modern stuff. And then when you ask them what do you hear about modern, yeah, I agree with their points. Like I agree with your points about modern gaming, but we have got plenty. We've got plenty, but there's like an aversion and a living in your head and your nostalgia. What do you think about that? Because there's a few people I've met who are like that, who are just deeply
Yeah.
nostalgic and can't break out of that.
Yeah. Because basically they tend to focus on their childhood more and their experience because they're into that bubble.
Yeah,
So basically, you tend to focus more on the good stuff, what you remember and what you like. Imagine a game called Katana Zero. We came out
yeah,
recently, loved it to death, along with Hades and The Messenger and whatnot. But Katana Zero, I liked its whole puzzle like aesthetic and semi manga cyberpunk feel to it. But back on topic here. It's because basically it reminds us of a good old time when stuff used to be great, like in the 2000s with Teen Titans, Avatar, various anime and manga, some comics here and there. Because they tend to focus on basically. Oh, are you Evil number one? Are you talking about me or the Dawn? Is that Quattro Pagina from Zeta Gundam or Char Aznable? But basically, if the stuff I've been nostalgic for is like Mario 64, Star Fox, are great games.
yeah.
And the tens, I played them so many times, it became part of my life and part of my memories when I played those, experienced those titles. And with people with autism and Asperger's, they tend to remember stuff from like what they like to the point
Yeah.
they're into it, like the lore, the people behind the scenes,
Oh,
the
the behind the scenes, yeah,
gameplay,
trivia. Yeah,
and then they remember stuff from like 15, 20 years ago. When they into modern stuff, they tend to miss out on it because they're so focused on that niche they're in.
yeah,
Look, I'm like that too with Hollywood stars these days, which I don't even freaking know at all,
yeah,
still to this day. And some modern stuff is like seems so bland and so basically homogenized
yeah,
because I'm in the West and it's for the Western people, and I'm like, ugh, this looks boring.
yeah. So here's one I also want to understand because I know we had this conversation before on Twitter.
Yeah,
You're very patriotic. Like I don't blame you. Like you say, your friends, your family, your life has been there in America, right? So
yeah.
of course you're gonna love the people that surround you. So I don't blame you. Obviously, I don't believe in patriotism, but you're very patriotic. But then when it comes to like Japan versus America in terms of entertainment, you're complete opposite.
You
Like
know,
you will never defend America on its entertainment, but you will defend America for its values, its principles, its
kind of
ideologies.
backwards because basically that's in real life. I don't tend to focus on politics on my channel or let alone internet
That's
most of
true.
the time
Yeah,
because I don't want to get in trouble and have
yeah,
like people argue against me because I don't. I used to use the podcast to share my
yeah.
hobbies, not my personal
Okay.
statements. That's why. But with
What?
entertainment, that's a different story.
Yeah. One more question though, I've got for you. Were you raised like in school or growing up or in family or people about like what is it that you Americans hate so much about communism apart from what you've heard about your enemies, like your political enemies like
Basically,
China
because
or
of
Russia?
like what you call it, basically propaganda.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want to get into like real life stuff here and whatnot. Don't want to get to a political statement and whatnot because some of Karl Marx's stuff I did research on a guy and I don't agree with him at all.
Okay. Bring it back to gaming though, like entertainment. Why do you a lot of you guys think that there's some communist conspiracy to censor stuff? I know there is censorship
Yeah.
for nudity and violence. Those things I understand because
What the
even a
fuck?
lot of Europeans are more liberal when it comes to sex, but they don't like violence on TV, right?
Reminds me of
So it's not
Japan.
it's not necessarily a communist thing, but why do you think a lot of you guys think there's a communist conspiracy in gaming? Like, what is it? So like,
Basically, for basically the tense of being focusing on the woke crowd. Basically, it's like taking away all the style and substance. And let's say this for a character design, for example. They try to
yeah.
make him or her ugly to the point they can try to appeal to like the common denominator, which they
But don't you think
basically
that's the opposite? Don't you think that it's more liberal? The media is actually way more liberal, pushing identity politics and liberal ideologies and like free the nipple and burn bras and all that stuff. Like, I don't think there's a communist I
it's
think it's quite
forced
the
to.
opposite.
It's let me tell you in simple terms, it was forced.
Yeah,
Trying to force. I don't like it when people force their ideology and their personal beliefs onto strangers, including myself, and trying to like force you on it, like putting like a like trying to like put their ideology into your brain. And if you don't accept it, they call you names. They try to cancel you. They try. It's like putting in your somebody putting a knife to your throat,
yeah.
and and tend to and I have issues with that. With I don't mind wokeness when not wokeness because wokeness is like the forced version of it.
I would say communists are far from the woke though. The
Yep.
least woke. See, I think it's misconstruing wokeness as being a I don't know what's inherently communist about that. Like, being woke is so far. Like, look at China and Russia. They're all about family values and so far away from like degeneracy, like in terms of like
Exactly.
conservative values. But I don't see how wokeness is related to that. I would never look at Russia as woke, or would never look at
Nope.
China as woke. Far from it.
Russia is not woke and definitely not China. Because they are strict with the values of family, which America doesn't have as a whole.
Yeah,
Look, I'm autistic and all, and you don't if you see me there, I tend not to focus on family that much.
yeah,
It's because basically my disability makes it difficult for me. But deep inside, I love my family
of course, yeah.
and appreciative of them. And let me tell you a little story though. For the longest time, I couldn't even talk in a conversation between us two, let alone other people.
Yeah.
It was all thanks to like from school as well, specialists at school, as well as my love of video games made friends.
Yeah.
And over time, I made friends. We started like talk about hobbies to interest to like personal things, and then it began to grow from there. And it started
Yeah.
after high school when I started going outside more, talking to people. I love actually talking to people now. But both back in the day, I was like an introvert because I had
Yeah.
troubles talking with people. I couldn't even talk to like I was 2 or 3. My memory's fogged on that part, but it took me ages to learn how to talk with people. And even at times, I have difficulty talking to giving my thoughts out because basically I tend to go like uhs or ums or getting lost in the thought.
Yeah.
And yes, every family is everything, and everything is family. Vin Diesel's a great actor.
Vin Diesel greatness. I want to ask you one thing though, because I know you said this is something that was only in your past. It's not
Yeah,
the case now. What was it about high school DxD that was a guilty pleasure for you? I know you've mentioned it
character
once or
design.
twice. The designs. What was it about those designs? Because I see no appeal in those designs. Well, maybe back then. Maybe.
Back then, yes. Like talk to your average weeb, and they'll ask you
Okay.
why.
Damn.
Same answer.
Who recommended you these
Random
shows?
thoughts on random thoughts on the internet.
Thoughts on the internet?
Yeah, forum posts, YouTube
Damn.
comments. I was
Yeah, no,
young
no,
then.
no, I understand. Like when you're in a depressed weebs, right? When they're in a
Yup.
depressed state and their life is going tough, and they're very introvert in their rooms, it can be you can go down the rabbit hole of these things, and then when you get
Yeah.
yourself out of that, you have a more healthy attitude and that kind of thing. But I just never saw the appeal of high school DxD designs, let alone like the fan service. Better tit design.
But yeah, besides that phase, I discovered Holy Land, which is manga only, and that's superior. Though you should read that series.
What's it called?
Only
Holy man.
Holy Land. It's
Holy man.
basically
Okay.
based on the name. It's by Mori Koji, and it's about basically a shy, introverted kid that over time becomes a strong street fighter. And that's it seems like cliche for delinquent manga, but it's one of the best reads I've ever watched in my life.
Oh, I think you mentioned. I think you recommended this back in the day. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
you saying that hard work and training, the message is good. That
Yeah.
really work at it. And yeah,
It's actually anti-suicide too, and it tackles like psychological aspects on like street fighting, which basically most series don't even touch. Like basically during a fight, you're scared, or when a person becomes a scaredy cat, then becomes a badass later on, and it
yeah,
grows. And it's not just that; it's also the theme of Holy Land. Why is it called that? Is a place of belonging
yeah,
because the main character was an introverted, shy kid because he was bullied all his life,
yeah.
especially in middle to high school. And R.I.P. to the homie. He's not dead though.
Okay.
Just leaving you
Damn.
with that. But most people. But why the name means a lot. Holy
Yeah,
Land, like basically your haven,
yeah.
and to be
That
just
sounds interesting.
and it's like and unlike Naruto to become the Hokage. That's dunya stuff. If you for
Yeah,
Islamic terms for people who are not Muslims in the chat, dunya is like the worldly life, like we're
yeah,
living here right now. While in Holy Land, he wants to find this holy land, basically his place of belonging, which is like inner his inner self. Shamo, I read some of that, and that was insane, man. Like I
Shamo,
should,
I never heard of this.
dude. Like
Dude,
if
man.
you don't, if you have like a strong heart or strong balls, go check that one out, cause that it gets insane.
Man, people are like the weeb credits for everyone I know is way more than my credits, my weeb credits.
Yup. That's one thing I like about the weeb community. At times when you get on their good side, they recommend you good stuff.
Yeah. I wish I had enough time to go down this rabbit hole, but I like dabble. I get distracted by games, I get distracted by TV shows, Vikings shows, shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tunya means Farsi,
See,
means
it's true
world.
though. See,
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, only Muslims believe in dunya." The whole idea of the journey of the tarot cards, the fool acquires the world.
Yeah.
The it goes from starts with the fool, it ends with the world. So only a fool will acquire the dunya, the world.
Yeah.
So there's a belief that if you only live for this worldly life, if you only seek to acquire the life of this world, then you're a fool.
Yep.
That's
Like
that's pagan. That's complete opposite. So you got fucking random,
pagans saying that the dunya is basically foolish if you want to chase it around. Like basically when
exactly.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Adam and Eve when they got punished, see this earth, the earth is not is like a haven to you, but also it's a test.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I'm like
not like a
saying,
five-star Hilton hotel. They didn't
no.
show. This is what people don't understand about. Like I hate to get into religious, but this idea of suffering, right? They
Yeah.
they don't feel that creationists have an answer for suffering. Nobody said that the world was a five-star Hilton hotel where we got to put our feet up and fucking nothing bad would happen. We have autonomy, we have agency, we have
Yeah.
choice. This was like a test, like you say.
Yeah.
So like, why is there suffering, dude? Did you not read the first things in your Bible or your Torah or whatever it
In
was?
the Quran.
Like, this was not a fucking five-star Hilton hotel that God put you up in. Like,
Yeah. Even like stuff in Shinto at times or paganistic beliefs, they believe in the unseen, the inner self, which the Western world kind of abandon and think of it as trash,
yeah, you
which
got
upsets
Hinduism,
me.
ego. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has the idea of the ego as well.
Yeah. Ego, how it like the heart, which is still like a different subject on Islamic terms on itself.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is why I love series like Holy Land because basically it goes into that a place of belonging. It's not
yeah.
I want to be the best in the whole freaking world. No, 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 no.
Did you ever
It
watch Naruto though back in the day?
yes, I do. I loved it to death because I
Yeah, same.
relate to the character because he wants to like everyone to respect him. Now, as an adult, a jaded 30, about to be 30-year old, sees Naruto now as trying to get into power, but that's not the case when I was a kid.
Yeah,
When I was like a teenager and I watched it religiously every Saturday at 9 on Toonami, I loved the character Naruto and Sasuke to death as their personalities. But
yeah,
Naruto wants to be Hokage so people can respect him. Yes, it seems like a power move and whatnot for a dictator,
yeah.
but that's not the case.
I don't even think he really thought through when he wanted to become Hokage what it meant to be. Like, didn't he in the film miss his coronation or some shit?
Yes.
Boruto felt like he missed his coronation. They
Yeah.
completely threw that out the window that he want. This is what I mean. This is what I hate about Shonen. You have a red herring, a MacGuffin. One
Yeah.
Piece is just there to lead the story along, to
Yeah.
give it like an ending, and just like I want to be Hokage. It's just a red
Yeah.
herring, a MacGuffin to like to have anything happen.
Yeah. And they don't tend the consequences like you're becoming a world leader. Believe it. And the consequences of it maintaining power and how it corrupts the soul and the heart.
Yeah.
But story ends there when he becomes the Hokage. Wow.
Shit, man.
I just love making people laugh. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Man, Naruto was something else. I still acknowledge Naruto as like formative years. Like I can never forget that Naruto kind of got me back into. I used to watch Astro Boy and Speed Racer, but I didn't. I wasn't conscious of anime back then. I think we talked about this on the
Japanese
last
cartoons,
podcast.
we call it.
Yeah, Japanese cartoons, and then when I watched Naruto, I was like, damn, I didn't like DBZ, but I fucking love this.
Yeah, because it's more personal. It's more character driven. That's why you enjoyed it more. It's more character driven. Besides the more cooler stuff, I always preferred Yu Yu Hakusho than DBZ. DBZ I liked when I was a kid for the quick action fights, but the characters are pretty forgettable. Besides
Yeah, Hakusho had a charm.
Vegeta, Goku, and Piccolo.
Yeah,
And why I love Gundam more, especially with the Universal Century titles, because it's more character driven, and if you paid attention to its lore, how mobile suits were built and developed over time in each iteration of the UC timeline, you'll be
yeah,
surprised.
yeah. I like how they develop.
Yeah,
Prototypes develop, and everyone's always trying to steal the fucking prototypes, and
yeah,
they reverse engineer, and then you have Xeon improving its fucking mechs and back and forth, and I love it. Like I do, I need to watch Zeta. Next one I have to watch is Gundam Zeta. I want to make it to Hathaway's Flash at least, but I gotta take some time before I do
yeah.
that.
You said you don't like mecha anime at all
I never
because
used to like mecha. I used to avoid mecha like the plague. I had a Chinese friend who used to bring in like folders of Gundam and model kits, and I never understood the appeal of mecha because I couldn't really. I thought that mecha was about the mechas, not the pilots. They kept showing imagery of robots, and I was like, I don't want to see this
robot
shit.
with
I
the
want
pilot
characters.
suit. Yeah, I love mecha because of robots, but then over time I tend to focus on the pilots more.
That said, though, I
Yeah,
don't think um, I don't think the Federation side has particularly interesting MCs. They have funny MCs, like meme MCs, like Amuro Ray
yeah,
and stuff. And some of the mini series I've seen have interesting MCs that I like, but I always tend to root for Xeon and
Xeon
what's
more.
going on with there. And they feel like the underdog, and I think there's validity and stuff. So I like watching it season by season, but I still gotta get more into it. So
Yeah, I,
I need to watch
I'm
the Shah arc. I need to follow. I need to continue and follow this arc to do with Shah and
the
what he's trying to
origin.
do. Yeah, new types and his own new type Haven and all that stuff. I've seen Origin. I've seen all of Origin.
Yeah, I was kind of upset they didn't adapt the whole manga.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's life for you. You get sidetracked by a lot of stuff, so don't blame him, people, or you just don't feel like doing it.
it's got so much like the rabbit hole. Somebody wrote me a list of the order I have to watch it in. The Universal Century timeline stuff. Got to get through. I've seen Thunderbolt. I've seen Stardust Memory. I've seen but all seasons of Thunderbolt. I've seen 0083.
Okay, hold on, I have to be right back because I have to pray right now. I'll be back in a couple minutes. So people in the chat, just answer many questions. I have to be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Zeta happening when Wild Arms 3 comes back. Dude, I've missed 2 episodes. I've missed 2 episodes of Attack on Titan because of Elden Ring. Blame Elden Ring, man. I might have. I might have like finished AOT and then got back into it. Baki, fucking three gets in a lion. I don't know. My heart's not in it, man. Anime just doesn't do it for me no more. But I wanna definitely do Zeta, Master Keaton, Osama Ranking, Arcane. Wanna do all that shit. I don't know what time is it. This one's Isha for him. No, he's 5 hours behind. Maghrib, yeah, Maghrib's like not a long prayer. It's probably Maghrib for him. So Maghrib's not that long. Most of these prayers are over in a couple of minutes. Kaiser. People kind of groan at the idea of prayer. They don't demand much of us. Your government in America, Biden, uh, the liberal media, they require more of you and more values from you than religion does. This is why I keep saying liberal media preaches more than seminary, fam. Let's pray for Tony. Inshallah, Tony finds Islam, fam. Inshallah, fam. That's the wish. That's the focus. We're going to North Korea in a year. It's gonna be an island. It's gonna glow in the dark. Because we're Americans, cocksucker. Pray for Tony's recovery post Liddy Moens. Yeah. Nah, prayer is awesome, man. Got me through some tough times. All you have to do is speak. Inshallah, he gets in good health. Colostomy bag is doing all the work for him, Nick. I mean, imagine having a life where the kind of grossness and discomfort of taking a shit is gone, like completely gone. You don't even have to get up and go to a toilet. You can just shit in a bag. Tony already has the beard. Tony should try it out. Has a biblical name. Damn. Do you think Troy actually believed that Lydia was a female? Like in that sense. COVID is over. Tony has the communist beard. Shit, man. The West has man buns. The East has beards, fam. Dude, you know if it came to a clash of civilizations, in the end, who would win? Like, this is why the West needs nukes, and then the Middle East has had to follow suit. But if it was like equal playing field, dude, the East would win.
Oh, I'm back now.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks for waiting, people.
So we can wrap this up if you've got another one more topic left or something.
Yeah, one more topic and then half a topic, then it's about to shut this down after one more topic here.
Okay.
Yeah, basically like the terms of I like doing these topics on creative writing and whatnot. Like one thing about like the West, but Japan got this too. Put them in the bashing pile too, because basically I'm just being fair now, because basically people don't know how to write anymore. They don't know how to do the hero's journey. They don't know how to do like the whole rising climax, the conflict, personalities of characters, how to engage them, etc., etc., etc. Go on. Then we're bringing back another subject here about how people don't know how to write, in Japanese included.
That's true. That's true. I never liked, no matter what I've watched, I acknowledge I like it. Legend of the Galactic Heroes and Monster are the only two animes I can really think of, and FMAB 3 that I feel are written really well and thoughtfully. But generally speaking, I think Japan is actually terrible, like poor in writing quality. You get like a gritty noir detective series or a grounded TV show in the West that's actually written thoughtfully. People talk like human beings. They convey a lot through writing, emotion. The Wire is one example. Oz is one example. HBO shows. But in Japan, all the dialogue is so fucking quirky and over the top and expository and speaking your thoughts in unnatural ways. It's just Japan has got terrible. Maybe it's the localization, but the writing.
The localization's part of it. The localization was a part of it, though. But part of it, not all of it. Part of it.
He's writing it like William was writing it. He's writing a space opera, right?
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah, I checked it out and it looks really well detailed, like Legend of Galactic wise. Not even Star Wars got that much detail than what William is doing.
Oh shit! You throwing shade on William, yeah?
No, I'm not throwing shade on William. I'm giving respect. I'm a Star Wars fan and I love what he's doing. But let me just say this:
he's not
Disney
doing
Star Wars.
He's doing LOTGH as well. He's doing Gundam and like his board game. So he's not writing. He's not writing a story. His board game has a Legend of the Galactic Heroes Gundam style political system.
Yeah.
So it's not Star Wars. He's not doing Star Wars.
Oh, I see now. I see. Yeah, I respect him for that.
Mecha dragons in space is not Star Wars.
It's original. I love mecha and I love dragons. I give him respect for that. And what
Yeah.
RY says, is that William?
No, no, that's Ryan. Ryan.
Ryan. And so what Ryan says, Omega, write any novels for yourself? Let me tell you, yes, I did. Ages ago. I lost a copy. So meaning I lost the source code, and probably if I discovered it, it'll probably be trash. Because I wrote almost every day. Basically every day. 7 days a week. During free time at school, during free time at home, even during the car, I write.
Yeah.
Because I used to love writing and drawing a lot.
Yeah.
I had this great big imagination, and I still wanted to write more. But whenever I start, I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to start out with? I struggle with the beginning, and I heard from rumors you struggle from the beginning, and you struggle at the end.
Yeah. Everyone's writing, man. Anime Snob, Jess Reviews, Prince, William, you. Everyone just writes. I
Yeah, I
never.
write.
I
Yeah,
like drawing, but I never wrote. I would love
it's
to write.
not for everyone, but it tends to like understand the structure of the English language. Yes, yeah. Just don't take my writing advice because I'm just an amateur.
Yeah. But no, I'm
I'm
not
just
gonna
an
lie.
amateur.
I don't doubt that you could write better than half these animes out there. People give it.
Checked out my story?
No, no. I mean, I saw a bit of it when you linked it, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, I don't doubt that your story, your writing is probably better than half the animes out there. Um, like I say, people. I think people mistake animators for writers. People have this conception that just because you're a good artist and you're a drawer that you can write well. You know, in Japan,
No.
artists usually do double duty. They do writing and artists. In
And art.
America, they have different artists, different inkers, different colorists,
And
different
sometimes
editors.
Japan has assistants, but go on.
Yeah, so sometimes they have assistants, sure, but they assume that a man is both multi-talented in drawing and thing. Usually, what the case is that they're amazing in drawing, their writing is just shit. Like, you can't expect someone to be good at everything.
Yeah.
They just feel the need to have ownership over their product, so they write so that no one else gets the rights to it or share credit. Like you say, Japanese culture, I think you told me this or someone told me this, they tend not to like to share credit in Japan. They're hugely protective of the IP.
Yep.
This is why they're so obsessed with fucking copyright striking everyone. They don't like sharing responsibility or giving young people credit for their work. So you will never see like fucking Akira Toriyama fucking gives his work to someone else, or it's only Kishimoto, right, in recent memory that
Yeah.
let other people handle his fucking
The
IP.
assistants. I don't credit. You get a good point. Why they don't credit the assistants? Even though
I don't
some
know, man.
assistants become very popular themselves, they started from assistants. Why they don't credit their assistants?
I
And
think
like
what
when
happened
you
with
open
Kentaro
Nora,
Miura is gonna shake up the industry now. I think
yeah,
people are gonna be like, look, I got it. Like Bastard, right? The
yeah,
manga Bastard came back because I'm sure that guy's scared about after what happened to Miura with Berserk, so he
yeah.
wants to finish.
You should. Everyone should be finished. Togashi should definitely finish his work now before he passes away too.
Shit, he needs to, man.
Yeah.
So we can get a
Anyways,
fucking
what Ryan says here is Omega does the writing, Moyne does the art. I can imagine the money printing already.
I would do the art, but I haven't drawn in like 15 years. After I got
Same here.
depressed, I stopped drawing, man. After uni, when I got depressed, I had to stop drawing, man.
Yeah.
But I used to be good, man. I hate to blow my own trumpet, but I used to be good at art, man.
Felt the same way till I went on DeviantArt and became disheartened how people drew. I was looking
Yeah.
at the professional work. Before that, I was like
Digital art is a lot easier though. I'm not gonna lie. Like
yeah,
having a tablet and digital, you can get rid of mistakes easier. You don't have to deliberate over things. You can look at reference images. Just having a piece of paper, A3 piece of paper, and just drawing your character, hashing it out. I I miss that, man.
yeah.
Digital just took everything away, man.
Yeah, I miss like drawing on paper. I miss that era, like draw, write again, flirt freely. I have a whole universe planned in my head, and it's gonna be better than most of the stuff people released, and people are gonna love it, and
Well,
I'm gonna make
that
tons of money.
sorry, Solo says Akira Toriyama gave his work to Toyotaro, current writing artist, to DBS manga. That's great.
That's
He's
good.
being progressive, but that's
Yeah,
that's not the case for like other
a lot of
people.
people. Yeah, they tend to not give his work with Gundam with Tomino, that's a different story because he was tired of working on it. So he sold the rights to Bandai and Sunrise, and they got a bunch of spin-offs and the end of story. But yeah, but a lot, yeah, with lots of whole weebs and people, they did not have experience reading a book. And people saying that anime is for writers. Dude, if you actually saw an actual writer that wrote well, he'll probably trash anime completely.
Yeah. It's just not good. The dialogue is laughable. It only works
Yeah,
in the animated space because the designs are so quirky.
yeah,
People keep justifying Cowboy Bebop. Oh, you can't translate quirky anime movement into live action. But I kept telling people that doesn't change the fact that this character is moving like this and he's talking like this.
yeah,
How else are you supposed to adapt this? Are you supposed to have a jaded, boring, dark, gritty Zack Snyder like Cowboy Bebop? Or do you want them to adapt it faithfully? It's people apologism and embarrassment of the source material. Don't be
yep,
embarrassed of it. If you're gonna get a live action, this is what it's gonna look like. That's why you should adapt Seinen because it's more appropriate for the genre, the
exactly.
tone. This monster can get adapted. Guillermo del Toro can adapt it. David Fincher can adapt a monster easily, and it would be amazing. But if you take
Monster,
yeah,
missed that
monster,
series, man.
yeah,
Johann Snyder,
yeah,
Tenma,
Johann Liebert, Tenma, Raikkonen, greatness, man.
yeah.
Roberto,
Just love reading that guy's manga. 36th century, 20th century boys. Love reading that
yeah,
manga.
that was a great manga. That was,
Sign In was amazing to read. Holy Land's also Sign In. That's why it's a classic. Because it
oh
tends to
nice.
focus on how people actually act, how it's more dramatic, not how it's more like grounded in reality, instead of being like over the top like shonen or isekai or anything like that.
Is it like Baki the Grappler or is it different?
It's totally different. It's like grounded in reality.
Okay,
Baki's over the top. Holy Land is grounded in reality. There's no over structure muscular guys. There's no Hadokens or chakra. Just straight up fist fighting in a
Holy
realistic
Land.
sense.
Oh nice, nice.
Yeah.
Holy Land.
Yeah.
I don't
So
want, dude. I'm not gonna lie, Solo. Your comment doesn't inspire me much. I don't want to watch. I don't even want to watch One Punch Man, let alone a Chinese version of One Punch Man.
One Punch Man, I never found the appeal of it.
I
It
had
got
people
boring
lecturing me about
after two.
satire, like I
Yeah.
didn't understand what satire was.
Yeah.
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man. It gotten good for the first two volumes and everything else boring. That's just me though. Like they don't know how satire actually works. Remember that corny show Bobo Bobo Bo back in the day?
No, but I've heard someone mention that name.
Yes, because basically I hated it when I was a teenager, and then nowadays when I'm an adult, I actually quite like it because it got more of the jokes and
Yeah.
style of humor.
Do you remember Great Teacher Onizuka?
Yes, I love that series.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, the teacher, because basically a teacher and was formerly a delinquent, which I love delinquent like stories
Yeah.
because it's my besides mecha, I just love like despite my high peeves of high school anime, I love the whole delinquents subgenre of it.
Have you seen Nashita no Joe? That's kind of like about a delinquent. It starts off
I love that stuff.
hugely.
I love that
Yeah.
series. The first
Yeah.
season, love how it graduates and the main character basically dies at the end due to
Yeah.
wounds,
Exactly. He
which is a
starts off
more
as a hot-headed delinquent who needs structure and discipline, and he
yeah.
goes off the rails. And you have like this father figure, Danpei. It's really fucking good.
The
I can see why
Japanese
Japan loves it. Yeah.
the Japanese Rocky, you call it.
Yeah. Rocky Joe.
Yeah, Rocky Show. Yeah. Okay, is it okay? Is it okay? I can end it here
Yeah,
because
we can wrap up. Yeah, we can wrap
yeah.
up. Yeah.
So before we end this wonderful discussion, let's just say let's give Makenshi here a shout out for coming by here today. And what's your final words?
My final words are: be healthy, man, in your consuming of entertainment, fam. Don't be a weeb, but don't be a Western dick
Rest
rider.
of the yeah,
Just dabble, fam. Just dabble in
yeah,
everything, fam.
yeah. So, anyways, if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to hit that like, leave a comment in the archive areas, share the video, and don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button and that blue bell for more notifications of video game videos and podcast episodes. Until then, this is your boy, the Omega Katana, 13 Leaving Dimension podcast. Till then, sayonara.